Hey everyone, Doug here at the JewelryMonk Studio. I've got a quick tip for you today. Actually, if you pay attention, there's two tips. I'll sneak one in. So I get a lot of people asking me how to solder like loops or small wires onto bigger pieces. And I was doing a project today and I thought this would be a great lesson. So when you solder a loop onto a flat piece, the radius of the profile of the wire is kind of rounded, and then you put it on a flat piece, it doesn't make a lot of contact. And I've made a video once before on what I do. I usually take the loop, take on a jump ring or something, and I'll file a flat area on there just so it makes more contact area, so it's a stronger joint. So let me show you a quick picture here. So say here's a profile, and this is the loop, and you're putting it on a flat piece, so there's not a lot of contact area there. Sure, you're going to put a little bit of solder in there, but still the contact of the metal to metal is not that much. So if you take and saw a flat area onto your loop, you've got more contact area, so it makes a stronger joint, and also it just makes it work a lot easier. So I've done a video on that before. Check it out, because I've got, if you go to JewelryMonk, the page here, I've got over 100 free videos, so check them out. But what I'm doing today is a little bit different. Instead of doing it this way, what I've done is I've taken and cut a notch into the flat area. So that when I put the loop in there, it's making a lot more contact area. And I did this just because when I'm doing one or two pieces, it's real quick to just go in there with a file and file a flat area. On the project I was doing today, I had like 12 jump rings to do, and it was just a lot easier. So this is the project that I did. I just soldered those little jump rings onto the back. So there's your first tip. So when you're soldering like loops, things that are round to flat areas, make it so that it has more contact area. That's going to make for a lot stronger solder joint. The second tip, and I've talked about this before, so when I'm soldering these pieces onto this big old hefty piece, when I solder it, I don't take my torch and aim it this way, because the first thing it's going to do is that loop is going to heat up and it's going to suck all the solder onto it. People always say, how come I can't get this to solder? Every time I put it there, the solder pulls on my loops, and eventually it starts to bubble and crumble, and I can't get it. It looks like it's done. When I cool it down, I grab it and it snaps off. So I use a little torch. So when you're soldering, you always put your heat underneath and heat up the base, because the flame is not what melts your solder. It's the temperature. So you want the temperature of this big area here to get to the point where it melts the solder, and then you can attach the small jump ring. So if you're having problems soldering little fine things to big areas, and you're constantly throwing them across the room, don't do that. Always remember, you don't want to melt the solder with the flame, you want to melt the solder with the piece. So also, when you're soldering these things, elevate them so that you can get underneath it. Some people use these wire baskets or mesh things. I just use my trusty old third hand. I've had this thing for 40 years. And so what I do is I hold it, and then I usually put my soldering block underneath it, just to keep my solder on it, and just to keep the heat away from my bench, and just hold it up there and elevate it so that I can get my torch underneath it and heat it up, and that works that way. That's what I like to do. Other people use different things, and they all work good, but the principle is to get your piece so that you can elevate it so that you can get underneath it with your flame and heat up the piece. So remember, you don't want to melt the solder with the flame. You want to melt the solder with the heat from the flame. So you heat up the piece that has the most area, and that will melt the solder, and then you add your fine work. So don't get frustrated, don't throw it. It can be handled. So there's your second tip. So if you're paying attention, you get 2 tips. Second one was free. First one, free too. So hope that helps. Like I said, it is a problem that I see a lot of jewelers having, new jewelers and jewelers that have been around for a while, just struggling with soldering little things to big things. So just remember, heat is what melts your solder and not the flame. Thanks for stopping by. Check out some of the other videos. Again, follow me at Doug Napier Jewelry Monk on this YouTube channel. Thanks.